been a while, but we're back working on the bus. Been working around all the dirt and grime and everything. I just need to crawl up in there and just clean all of this gunk up. Between my vacuum cleaner and my air compressor, got her cleaned-ish. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. I also need to clean out all this area, just because it's disgusting. And I need to put a new water pump in there. So I'm just gonna die grind it down a little bit, clean all the rust off, and then vacuum it out and see how much stuff I can get out of there. What I need to do is I'm gonna replace these plugs one by one. Got them all routed. Next thing I need to do is I routed the ignition wire and the start wire through this hole, and I didn't have a grommet. So I gotta take it all out, unhook it from that side, because this side it's kind of permanent. I should have put a different connector right here, but I didn't, so we'll deal with that later. So I need to put a different grommet in there, or put an actual grommet in that hole. A little too excited in installing this ignition. Should have routed the wires correctly before I did anything. Put the grommet in place. Now I just got to reroute all this wires and reconnect it. Got the ignition back installed with all the wires reconnected. That was correct, right? That's how I took it off, I hope. Anyways, got it back installed. Tested it, it works right. Why I have the positive side disconnected, I'm gonna add some covers for these wires, just so it's not just open bolts everywhere. Just gonna throw some little rubber covers on them. I added terminal covers to everything. One's on the batteries and a few down here. I didn't add it to right here because the ones I have aren't gonna really fit right there. So I gotta figure something else for them, but everything else has one. Makes it a little safer so you reach in, you don't shock yourself. That's literally the only point of them. Starting to put together the fuel system. I'm gonna bypass the fuel tank and all that stuff as of right now because I don't know how nasty it is. As far as I can figure, this is the outlet and this is the inlet. This is the inlet and this is the outlet for the fuel pump. So I'm going to route this line up through here. I'm going to put a fuel pump or fuel filter down here just to kind of keep it as close to the pump as I can. And I think if I do it that way, it'll be out of the way from everything else. Our fuel system now is just going to be a fuel tank, a hose, my little fuel pump with a Chinese Milwaukee battery and a switch. Up through there, up into my fuel pump, and just out right here. Well, I'm almost positive that fuel pump's bad. I've been trying to pump fuel through it both ways, and I can't even get fuel to pump through it, let alone it to pull a vacuum and pump fuel itself. So I'm just gonna pull it and order a new one. Pretty sure I figured out why this fuel pump wasn't pumping any fuel. This won't move no matter which way I push it, and that end's completely plugged. That end's completely plugged. So ordered a new one. Was gonna put in the water pump, but of course, when they shipped me the gasket, or the new water pump, they broke the gasket. Okay, it fits pretty close, except I need to take a little more material out of on the inside. Alright, got the water pump on, trimmed down the gasket a little bit. Now I'm just torquing it to yes. Water pump's on there and the pulley's on there. Now you could really tell, if you look right here, that the alternator is about 1/4 inch too far back. So I need to figure out a way to move that forward. I think the best way is just to put some spacers on this bracket right here, this bolt and this bolt, and pull it out 1/4 inch. But that's something for another day. Got a new fuel pump. Already put the fittings on. Colored the intake black just so I can tell the difference. And yeah, it's a little bit different from the other one, but not that much. Side by side comparison. This is the old one. The only real difference I'm seeing is these ports these drop down a little lower, but that's not really going to make a difference. I mean, this one works and this one doesn't, so I'm going to go clean off the mounting surface. Where are we at? Right there. And install it. Alright, I got the fuel pump torqued to yes. Alright, I got the fuel pump all hooked up. I got my Vice Grip Garage Bring the Fire, Bring the Thunder. What does he say? Bring the Thunder. Thunder button all hooked up. We're gonna see if I can get this fuel pump to make suction. One thing I should have checked earlier, I didn't. See if I actually have spark. Took the cap off of the distributor, and it doesn't, oh, this doesn't look bad. Let's see if it's rotating. to be doing right. If you look at the cap on top of this distributor, it looks brand new. So I'm guessing they rewired this, or redid all the cap and rotors and replaced all this stuff. Cleaned her all out, put her back together. Hopefully it works now. So I think my points are bad. I'm not getting any spark. But I also don't know how my firing order is supposed to be, because it is all messed up. The firing order on the intake right there is 1843657 I believe for Ford engines it starts on the passenger side of the block, or passenger side of the block, and it goes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Figured it out. They put this on here like it was a small block Chevy. This is the #1 wire for a small block Chevy, and this is the #2 wire for a small block Chevy. This ain't a small block Chevy. The firing order is going to be way different. So I'm going to have to pull all these wires off and start over. I think I'm just going to get a new distributor also, because this one is obviously not working, and why would I keep this old crappy distributor that's been wired wrong and just messed up if I'm just replacing all this other stuff. So I'm gonna pull this off, see if I can find a new distributor. All right, I got a new distributor. Let's go stab her in there. So here's the old one versus the new one. I've decided to get all new parts for this, is because I'm not really sure what I'm going to use it for. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. If it was me keeping it, I would just run all these old parts and just, you know, deal with it. But since I'm not sure I'm going to keep it, I might sell it. I don't want to attach my name to something that's not done right. Cleaned out the area that it's supposed to around the distributor as good as I could. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Already put the gasket on the new distributor. Now let's see if I can get her to go in the way I had her. Took a photo of this beforehand to make sure I'm doing it all right, to make sure everything's lined up. I don't want to have that big problem I had with my truck when I stabbed the distributor, because that was not a good deal. I think that looks right. Does that look right to you? It looks almost perfect to me. I'm going to replace this rotor. It's not delivered yet. This cap looks, there's some broken parts on it and some, you know, it's not the cleanest looking thing, but on the inside it looks brand new, so I'm going to keep it. That's what I decided. I was talking to a guy, which I consider a pretty good expert on carburetors and older engines like this one. I ended up talking to him for a while, told him my plan and everything, and he told me my 4-barrel carburetor, it'll work, but it's gonna be a pain. You're always gonna be messing with it. You're never gonna get it tuned perfectly. So I went to a parts store and just grabbed basically the first 2-barrel carb I could find, and I don't think this is gonna work. This is like a 300 CFM. This isn't quite enough carburetor for this dog, for this engine. So I've decided, once again, I'm going to go to Rock Auto and just order the correct one. I have the new rotor. We got it installed. Now to get the cap on. After doing a bunch more reading and a lot more researching, I found out that they did have the firing order correct. This engine and a small block Chevy do have the same firing order.
instead of fighting with that 4-barrel carb or getting another 2-barrel carb, I ordered from Rock Auto again the carburetor that's supposed to be on here, the 2-barrel carb that's supposed to be on here. There's a few issues with it. It doesn't just, you know, sit shut. You got to hold it right here for it to sit closed. Let me show you what I mean. Like these, nothing, just automatically open on their own. So I think you're supposed to have some kind of vacuum or something that pulls these shut. I think the throttle cable is actually supposed to hold these. The throttle linkage is supposed to hold it shut, and then when you put your foot down, that's when it opens. I'm trimming down all the spark plug wires because they don't fit on the spark plugs right. It takes them about a half hour to push one on. Oh no, that went down the intake. It takes about a half hour to push it on before you snip that thing off, and then now you can get them to fit right. If you trim her down a little bit, I gotta get that piece of rubber out of the intake because that ain't good. That was some luck. All right, to go over the timing of this again: 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. Okay, let's mount this carburetor. It says front this side up, and front this side up. Have the carburetor mounted now. I had to cut a end wrench in half to get that bolt. It was difficult. I put the spark plug so it goes 1, 8. Number 1 wire's right here. Hopefully that works. This feels a little loose, so I don't know if that's supposed to be tight. I think I'm ready. I'm gonna go throw a battery charger on the battery because it's just been sitting here. Crank it a few times, hopefully get some fuel flowing, and then send it. I'm gonna have a big old vacuum leak right here because this is supposed to go through here and then plug into the distributor. But even if I do get it started, I'm only gonna have it running for about 10 seconds. So I figured that's not that big a deal. This is idle, and that is wide open throttle. So I got the throttle working, well, kind of. I mean, that is, so that is closed, if you can see in there. I don't got the manual choke hooked up, but it's right about there. Now, got the battery charger just on a trickle charge. Got the bring the fire button, bringing the fire, or ready to work. I think I got the timing or the firing order all hooked up. I got my fuel line connected, my temporary fuel thing. I'm ready to see what happens. All right, round 2. Let's add a little fuel in here. And let's see what happens. There's not much fuel in the fuel filter, so I decided. All right, let's see what happens. You ready? I'm nervous as hell. Well, that's a problem. My fuel pump just blew fuel everywhere. So obviously that's not on there tight. Ooh. Not getting spark. Why aren't we getting spark? Well, I'm thinking about why she won't start. I'm gonna let it charge for a little bit, and then I'm gonna build this
vacuum line so we don't have that vacuum leak, so I can rule that out. I don't think that's the issue, but it could be. So yeah, also probably flooded crazy because yeah. I missed it in the video, but this thing let out a lot of smoke and it's still really hot to the touch. What did I do wrong? I've had a heck of a time finding the correct fitting that'll fit in here, an adapter fitting or anything. I believe the correct way for me to go was to get a vacuum line that was a 1/8 inch. This one is a 1/4 inch. To find an adapter that fits in here and goes to, I believe this is 3/8 inch fitting, is next to impossible. Couldn't find one, so I'm gonna do something probably not the best idea to do, but I'm gonna do it anyways because I'm overlooking and I just want this to work. Got the vacuum line all hooked up. Probably wasn't the best idea to do it that way. Probably should have found the correct fitting instead of drilling and tapping it, but it'll work. I asked people of the internet how I burnt up this coil. Basically what they said is I'm an idiot. But the people who actually commented the helpful comments said this type of coil, the key can't be left on for a long time. And one thing you might do is put a resistor in the middle. So how I'm gonna hook it up is this wire I'm gonna cut in half and run it through the resistor, so it should get around 7 volts constant power when the engine's running. When the engine's started, or starting, I'm gonna hook that one up to this wire. That's gonna run straight to here. It's going to run a straight 12 volts while starting, so it has a little more voltage, a little more power while starting. Okay, spark plug's all plugged in, spark plug wire's all plugged in. New coil, wired with ballast resistor. Got everything hooked up, ready to go. Let's see if I can actually get her to fire. Here goes nothing. Okay, so I tested a few things. Probably should have tested it before I installed it, but I have resistance between these two. So my primary has resistance, but between here and here, I have no resistance. I think I just installed a bad coil. Got everything back together. Let's crank her, see if she starts. Feeling good on this one. Okay, we're trying it again. Come on, baby. I did have the firing order to what it should be, or what I could find online. Now I just changed it back to what it was. Number one used to be right here. I moved the one over right here and just, you know, moved everything back one. This is how it was when I first got it. Thinking that it sounded like it was very close to firing, just maybe a tooth off. So thought maybe this could be it. All right, here we go. Holy crap. Oh, that was obviously it. Woo, buddy. Yeah, there we go. That'll wake you up. Let's try this again. Serious tuning on it, but she's running. She's running, boys and girls. I'm gonna try her again. This time I actually put the hose back in the fuel. Oops, didn't have it last time. But I'm gonna try to start her again. This time I'm gonna see if I can start it from the cab. On my bucket seat. Let's see what happens, boys and girls. She's a running. Check the oil. Oil doesn't look good. I mean, it doesn't look bad. There's oil everywhere on that dipstick. Oh man, I almost didn't come back out. Almost like, oh, I can't figure it out. Thought, heck yeah.